is Ruel's Running Podcast, a podcast about running, health, family, play, and an NSNG lifestyle. And now, here's your host, Ruel.
Excuse me as I rock on. That's Went Away by Dorothy Lane. Dorothy Lane out of Martinez, California. That's out of the Cut and Dry album. Check them out at dorothylanemusic.com. Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm back. It's Ruel. It's been I don't know, it's been 3 weeks about since the last segment, maybe, and that's okay. Hope just an update. After today, it'll be, I believe, 3 weeks without any alcohol, no drinking, right? And crash. And that feels wonderful, you know. And it's it's going good, you know, mentally. You know, I'm not thinking about, you know, like I talked about before, you know, certain activities, especially the ones that I had previously associated having a good drink with those are less on my mind, you know, and I've been sort of replacing sort of that mental space with positive thoughts, you know, things like I'm more excited about being on point with NSNG. This is the first time in a very long time that I've participated in Megan's I don't even think I've mentioned Megan on this podcast before, but Megan is an admin in the Vinnie Torres No Sugar No Grains group, and I guess I could sort of just mentioned her because, you know, she's been on the Service Guys podcast, the podcast I produce and co-host with our good friend Lonnie Beecham in Jefferson City, Missouri, who operates Restore It Restoration. Yeah, so that's the Service Guys podcast. So anyways, Megan, she's, you know, been spearheading these NSNG AF. The AF, as you know, stands for as fuck. So for a long time, NSNG AF has been used. She's used it to help, you know, members of the group along to tackle a particular month, to be tighter, more on point, be motivated for that particular month with their nutrition, you know, with avoiding sugars and grains and things of that nature. So yeah, it's been a long time. I can't remember if ever having participated in an NSNG AF month, you know, like this. You know, sure, I've only posted a few times, but, you know, there was, you know, the month, you know, December rolled around, you know, because December rolled around because December rolled around. I have nothing to do with it. But as I talked about in the previous segments, how the weekend before Thanksgiving week, I just made that decision to finally just like, you know what, I don't need this alcohol. And that began my process, if you will, you know, me cleaning things up. At first, you know, focus on the get alcohol out of my head, you know, which meant, you know, not sort of thinking about how it used to fit in my life, and now I have to struggle to figure out how to do something else in my life that can replace that. So for a while it's been, sort of a mental state of, I don't do that anymore. What can I do now? Now it's more. Now the mental energy is spent focusing on, I wonder if if my ketone readings are still on point, or I'm thinking about oh yeah, I need to just check my blood glucose alongside that and see where things are at and track and just sort of feel good about trends and things of that nature that indicate I'm where I want to be, and on occasion I'll just track blood pressure. I've got a blood pressure monitor at home as well, just tinkering and feeling good about those things, and it's become more autopilot for me to just cut sugars and grains, the way it used to be. I'll just, chomp on some meat, chomp on some cheese, healthy fats, throw in some greens every now and then, and it's funny, I'm making all these, when I actually sit down and make a meal, I'm not eating anything attractive, and I'm not making anything that's too complicated. And it reminds me of that Netflix series, Ugly Delicious. I'm making ugly delicious food for myself, right? I'm just throwing in stuff, like sometimes I'll just get a container, I'll throw in, a bunch of salad greens. Then I'll find whatever meats. Like, I finished off the remaining prime rib roast that I had cut up and put in sort of the refrigerator. There's sort of like this. We have this mid temp. Not, how do you say it? It's an in between the refrigerator and the freezer. So it's cold enough to keep your food, your meats ready for consumption, but it's cold enough to prevent it from turning as quick as it would have turned had it just sat in the refrigerator. I don't even know if that makes sense. For our refrigerator, it's called a flex zone. But through that meat in, there's a little bit of ham from Thanksgiving, threw that in there. Sometimes I'll find pepperoni or dry salami, depending on what I have in stock, what I have on hand. I'll throw in, some cut up cheeses. I love. I just realized it now that I'd rather pick up a jar of mixed veggies that are pickled, and also have a jar of olives, and I'll toss in a variety of those things into the salad. I love even pickles. I'll throw in some mini pickles in there, some gherkins, if you will. And then what I do is I have this jar with a garlic already infused in the vinegar. And it was basically a dipping sauce for my homemade lumpias. And basically it's vinegar with some smashed garlic in it, salt and pepper, and that just sort of sits in a jar in the cupboard and ready for when I need it. But I've been using that garlic infused vinegar to make my vinaigrettes for these ugly delicious salads that I'm making, and it's awesome. I used to do the balsamic blah blah blah, and sometimes I will, or the red wine vinegar, but this isn't. I like this because it gives that nice hit of garlic in the vinaigrette without having to add garlic powder. It's already in it's already infused in the vinegar. So good. And I'll use my little handheld milk frother device to whip up the vinaigrette in a little cup. So good, so good. And sometimes I make a big fat salad. I know I've talked about it in other episodes how I think, going to buy a salad on a work day at some salad specific place it's kind of lame. And I only say that because I feel that people miss out on eating actual robust fatty meaty foods, and they sort of force themselves to just eat a salad just because it's quote healthy. But typical folks will just drown it with garbage dressing. And but I'm at home and I'm making it, piloted on with a bunch of stuff that I know, making dressings that I know, and at the end of it all, feel good. Like, I've totally stayed NSNG and I'm happy, and I'm not compromising my blood sugar, my ketones, and and I'm not hungry. Shoot. And so anyways, I can't even remember how I kind of folded into this whole salad conversation, but I think my mind, I'm thinking more about positive things being excited for things that are aligned with being clean and healthy and stuff. So I even went out on a run earlier this week, and it was great. I sought out to just sort of hike 30 minutes out, and originally I thought I would just sort of do some brisk walking around the neighborhood, but as soon as I hit that fresh air, that cool fresh air in the morning, I was like, I'm going to go from here to a nearby trail. I'm gonna do a little bit of hiking, get a little bit of elevation for that half hour, and then just gonna easy jog it back, and there's a bit of climbing and descent, so there's some hiking and there's some mindful descent during the run back. And man, it was great to be out. It was so good. No speed records, but I was thinking, I think this is the first sort of legit outing that I've had since being shelter in place or pandemic, So, needless to say, DOMS kicked in and my body told me exactly where I'm out of shape, and that's from my feet to my calves to my back, even my neck. So, hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to get it. I'd love to get another run in. Tomorrow I'm supposed to have the day off, so if I can at least do 2 of these a week, I'll be good. So yeah, cool. That's the update. Do you need a website? If you're an individual, a consultant, a group, or small business and need a site, or maybe you have an existing site, I can help. How about graphic design? Do you need a design for a t-shirt, logo, product, business cards? Maybe you need help with designing and developing a brand. I'm not an expert, but I do have the tools and the techniques to get the job done. How about a podcast? Yep, like this thing. This thing's a silly little show. Are you looking to set up a podcast of your own? Are you looking to reach an audience? Promote your business via podcast? Well, Abadam Studios. That's right, Abadam Studios. Yeah, so that's Abadam Studios. AbadamStudios.com, AbadamStudios.com. Check it out. Hey, party people. Squeak, squeak, squeak. You hear my brakes in the background? Yep, that's how I roll. Loud brakes. What's going on? So, we're 10 days till Christmas. And, let's see, it's a Tuesday, so after this week, I'll be 4 weeks without the alcohol, without the booze, since I quit before the Thanksgiving week. And I feel good about it. Feeling good. So been tracking, doing a bunch of tracking, having fun tracking. Tracking what? Tracking the what do you call it when you the ketone piss strips? The piss strips, the pee strips. Bought a big old bottle of piss strips for, the spillover, the measuring how much ketones are in your urine that you're dumping out. So been tracking that, and now I'm at a point in these 3 weeks. I started out, in the sort of the light trace sort of indication of ketones in my urine, and now I'm much darker on the pee stick, so it's pretty interesting. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, after I did a workout, went for a run for about an hour, and then that was a fasted morning run, and then I just sort of fasted most of the day, trickled coffee and some form of fat. I can't remember if I took in some collagen or not in it, so some collagen protein, but I think middle of the afternoon, I got some really good measurements, but that wasn't through the pee stick. It was through the blood tests, the ketone monitor. So in addition to the pee sticks, I'm poking my finger and testing blood. So, in these past 3 weeks, I've gradually crept back up into an optimal ketogenic state, and I'm seeing very subtle differences in the way my clothes are fitting, or I'm feeling subtle differences, and I'm in a good way, not so bloated. Also seeing subtle differences in how I look in the mirror, my face and stuff. So I'm hopeful. I could just be sort of out of my mind and seeing what I want to see, but it's better that I play these mind games in the direction of making improvements rather than expending mental energy wondering about boozing. So it's been about, I think it's been about a pound a week, and it's kind of cool. I haven't been there. That used to be the mode years ago, about a pound a week, until you kind of plateau, until your body sort of finds its, in quotes, set point, I guess. So we'll see how I take it. I like a pound a week. That's a good, consistent reduction, and anytime within a given week, it can go up and down. So just gauging week by week is a good thing. Anyways, how are things going? I haven't been cooking anything interesting lately. Nothing interesting since, going back to, solid NSNG. It's been what I mentioned in that last segment, Ugly Delicious. So, just throwing in some salads, some greens, or eating some cold cuts and some cheeses and some meats. Nothing really put together, So, Oh well. Alright, I'm back. So, nothing on the what's cooking front that's that's photogenic. There are little things that I'll snack on that, I find entertaining. Like, I'll have a tub of cream cheese and I'll take a fork and I'll kind of do a scraping or a little fork shoveling of some of that cream cheese. Why fork? Why are you using a fork? Well, because what I'm going to do next is going to need a fork. Then I'll jab a slice of salami, and then I'll grab a pinch of some salad greens, like a pinch full of leaves, and then I'll jab that with the fork, and then I'll find a nice juicy green olive, and I'll jab that with the fork. So I have these little itsy bitsy sort of like skewer kebab type things of cream cheese, salami, some sort of salad greens, and an olive, and that works for me. And sometimes I'll go back to doing the old berries and cream deal, where I'll get frozen berries, or I'll get some fresh berries, rinse them out, and put them in the freezer. And when I'm ready for berries and cream, what I'll do is I'll get some plain full fat yogurt, put it in a bowl, and then I'll get like the frozen blueberries and raspberries, and I'll cut up some frozen strawberries, and I'll throw those in the bowl. And then I'll do a good splash or two of heavy cream, and then a nice shake of some ground cinnamon over it. Oh yeah, and like a half handful or a handful of, depending on how much crunch I want, the almonds, the raw almonds, and I'll stir that all up, and it'll get nice and thick and creamy, kind of almost like a chunky ice cream, if because of all the coldness from the frozen berries and how it changes things with the yogurt and the heavy cream. It starts to get a little bit solid. So that's my alternative to ice cream. And berries and fat and a little bit of spice. Nothing fancy. Nothing fancy. So I as far as exercise, I've gone out, done 2-3 runs. I think it's been 3 locally. And so last week it was a Monday and a Friday where I did runs. Did a Monday morning and a Friday afternoon. This week I did go out on a Monday morning. I do plan to go out again on Friday. I'll see if I could fit in a 3rd run in the week. And it's good. It's got a nice trail with some good rolling hills, so gives me some good uphill hiking and some good downhill running on some trail terrain. And yesterday I went out and it was pretty mushy because of the recent rain the day before, so I was picking up a lot of mud on the bottom of my shoes. I just shake it off, scrape it off, all of that good stuff. But it's like, wow, had I known this was here for me to run through a long time ago, I would have spent more time doing my training runs here, because it's trail specific. So now I know. anyways, yeah, that's cool. So, and I'm looking at whether or not I want to participate in January's virtual run with the Badwater folks. I think they've got a 267-mile VR, and that will be every day in the month of January, and that'll mean in order for me to cover that many miles, I'd need to cover at least 8 miles a day, and that's a good couple hours of running a day. I'd love to do. Whether or not I can do it consecutively 31 days straight, I don't know. Obviously, there are times where I would fall short and have to make up on other days, or I could just sort of accumulate more mileage on a particular day just to sort of bank some. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I have to make a decision on that. Yo, I'm back. It's been a long week so far. It's only Thursday. But it definitely has been mighty busy. Yeah. Yep. So, still on track, still NSNG, still alcohol free, still in nutritional ketosis. Finding that post-workout, my ketone levels are like in the 3s, and otherwise I'm measuring in the 1s. Millimolars, I think is the unit of measure on the blood ketone monitor. Past 28 days, because I've slowly gone from nothing to what I am now over the course of the 2nd of December. I think the very beginning, I was out of ketosis, and I just sort of cleaned things up, and as early as the 2nd, I just started showing trace amounts, and it's just increased each day that I sort of had to recover and intentionally stay on track. So I'm averaging about 0.8. So yeah, it's cool to track. I've talked about it a lot so far, and what I'm noticing is, trying to figure out like when I feel crummy in the afternoon, because after having fasted for most of the day, and usually I'll grab something to eat in the afternoon. Some days are better than others. I'm just busy enough and still have the energy to function, but then at some point later in the afternoon I'm like, don't feel so great, right? I think I need to eat something. So got back into the pattern of having bone broth around regularly, so that's super helpful. Even been before that, been trying out the store-bought stuff, the store-bought broth. Not too bad, super convenient, but often they're like either or, either chicken or beef, right? And I want a combination, so like this last batch of beef broth, I had a bunch of beef marrow bones, and I made the bone broth from those, and it's funny. It's so funny. I know I was missing something just thinking about it. I ordinarily will put the bones, like the beef bones and the leftover roast chicken bones, some carrots, some celery, some onions, and then a bunch of herbs and a bunch of salt. I just remember that now, and I realized this last batch I did not add the onion or the carrot or the celery, just the herbs. And you know what? It's actually not bad. It's pretty good. And because it was just the bones, I didn't have the roast chicken bones. It was just the beef bones. I used store-bought chicken broth and added it to the pot when I made the broth. So try to make up for the missing chicken piece. I'm back. Hey guys, what is up? Well. It is Sunday, the first weekend of the kids' holiday or winter break, whatever you want to call it, and that's cool. It's gonna be good not having to think about having the kids be at class on time, even though it's remote learning. For folks who don't have kids and don't really have to think about having kids be remote learners, it's actually sucks. It's not as simple as stating kids are remote learning sounds. I have a first grader who she's on a completely different platform for the most part, online platform for assignments than her older brothers. And it's cool. I really think it's cool. Every morning the teacher assigns every morning the teacher says, okay, there are certain times where we're going to need your child to log in. So what's great about that is it means that the kid doesn't have to be on the computer in a video conference thing throughout the day. It's do a morning sign, log in the morning, and attendance is taken, and they cover what to expect for the day, maybe go through an assignment, or maybe do breakout rooms and have the kids sort of be in smaller groups, and they're given a topic to discuss among their classmates, and then they kind of end the breakout session and come back as a group. So it's cool. So they're online in a class for a short amount of time, but a significant, a meaningful amount of time, and then they hop off. But there is a set of assignments assigned, in their learning platform, there's learning website. So that's cool, right? That's cool. Let's see. I have to think, because I might be heading. I'm on the road again, so I might be heading in the wrong direction. So I need to correct my course. Try to not get in an accident. Yeah, that was a one-handed U-turn. But on the other side of the street, there was a vehicle parked along the side of the street, so that gave me a tight spot to actually execute my turn. But I made it, because I'm just okay. Anyways, so, the teacher sends an email in the morning that says, I need the kids to be on, for example, 8:20, and then later on at 12, and then on a particular day of the week, your student, or my child would have to log in at an additional time, like 1:20 for, say, a science class, or music, or PE. Yep, you can instruct PE online. So that's what it's like, right? And half of the assignments my child completes on the learning platform and submits it on the learning platform. That's great. Other assignments are hands-on. So my child is given an instruction over video, and work is done. Handwritten work is done that way. And then there's also handwritten work that my child has to do asynchronously outside of the video conference. So that means at the end of the day, there is a set of assignments that I need to take a photo of and upload into the platform, and I was on top of things, every day was submitting it, feeling the pressure of, oh my God, I gotta get my daughter's assignments turned in before the end of the day, or, in the evening, so, before the next day, so it counts, right? And I'm thinking that, but then this past week, leading up to the winter break, I'm like, you know what? I'm only going to submit twice a week, which means on Tuesday, I'll submit Monday and Tuesday. And Friday, I'll submit Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And, it's just, I'm sick and tired of it being a full-time job, uploading my child's assignments every evening. I am, and the only downside is, like, on a Friday, I'll have to track down not just Friday's assignments completed, but the Thursday and the Wednesday, and try not to miss anything. Ugh. But the plus is, my wife and I are aware of everything that she's worked on in the day. So that's one child. Okay, so now, you add another child, and they're on a different learning platform like Google Classroom, and that teacher has a different schedule of when your child is on the video conference, and a different schedule of breaks and things of that nature, and because he's older, the child is older, he's in the 4th grade, I'm not, watching every assignment at a time like I did do our 1st grader. And, I can't constantly do that for the 4th grader, and I can't constantly look at the quality of work, like, is he capitalizing his sentences? Is he putting punctuations? Is he completing the minimum amount or required amount of slides on his presentation, which I think is kind of bonkers because, this day and age, you're in elementary school and you're doing, presentation slides. But kids don't really see it as presentation slides because they don't really present it like you would do a business presentation. They would just use it as a multi-document file where they can put multimedia elements, and that's their homework, and they submit it. They don't have to worry about continuity. They don't have to worry about transitions, But, so that's tough, right? The 4th grader is tough because he's in that spot where he's still young enough to need more attention, but he's also old enough to where he needs to be trying to develop, task management and things of that nature, doing checklists and things, and reading instructions for assignments thoroughly, and so for that child and for his teacher, there's a bunch of things being submitted and then returned, and the teacher giving feedback, you're missing this and this, read the instructions again, and then resubmit when you add what you're missing. There's a lot of that, so I feel for the teacher, because there's a lot of work that goes into that, and for us listeners, feel sorry for parents who have homeschool kids, especially or remote learners, especially when you're full-time parenting, and at home, and either at home or not at home. If you're a full-time working parent, you know, then that means, and you're full-time working outside of the home while your child is remote learning from home, you know, then as a parent, you know, you're just dependent on the teacher and the school hours to be just enough to get your kid learning without your contribution or assistance or mentorship or guidance or supervision. But, you know, for us, it's tough because, you know, it's almost like I need to spend a child and a half's worth of time really kind of eagle-eyeing, making sure that everything is done. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And then there's child number 3 who's in the 6th grade and really independent, and we're very proud that there's that level of independence. But then there are moments where, you know, we take a look and wonder, like, we're taking a look at your overall grades, and for some reason you've got issues with grades in these subjects. What's going on? And then we would drill down because, you know, we get visibility on a web page, you know, what the grade average is, and then they also tell us exactly what were things that were unsubmitted. And then it's like, you know, we wonder, like, does our 6th grader, what's the reason why our 6th graders is collecting, is accumulating these unsubmitted items, you know? Or why is he, at the end of the day, just working on an assignment that's due that day? You know, so it's like, so there's the challenge of, okay, I really don't want to be super on top of the oldest child. I want him to have a level of independence and really double check his stuff. But, you know, we're learning that it's like we may have to check in at least maybe once a week and to see where he may be accumulating more unsubmitted stuff, or to see if he's caught up, and giving him stern reminders, you know, these are the upcoming things. You got to keep track. So it's tough. You know, it's being in 3 different classrooms, basically. So the good news is we're here, we're at the break. You're at the break, and after the break, you know, they'll be on the second half of their year, and it's been tough all around, you know, education, the school, the faculty, staff, whatever, and, you know, the students. It's just tough all around. And to be able to get to this point, you know, is a result of a lot of hard work and anxiety and things on everybody's side. You know, I've heard a teacher and one of my kids talking to the class, that, you know, and he commended the class because he knew that it was tough, and he, as a teacher too, admitted that he had levels of anxiety because he had to stretch himself as a teacher, and this was a music teacher, you know, to bounce between using one video conferencing service to another to find what best suited the class's needs and what worked for how he conducted class and what was aligned or allowed with the school district, you know, and how he would give the best possible instruction and feedback and direction to a bunch of young music and instrument musicians, you know. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, and we're lucky where we're at because just 45 minutes away, you know, we have a a cousin who's a teacher in the 4th grade, and it's a totally different reality there, where in her situation, majority of her class is they're performing at D level, grades. And despite her as a teacher's constant trying to work with parents and kids and reminders and catch up, there are parents that are just like I described, they're just reliant on the school hours to be enough for, and if their child is not doing the work, there's nothing that they as parents can do about it, because they themselves are full-time. They're full-time and they're working. And at this point in time, you can only imagine, and you probably know people who are really stressed, about being able to survive or provide or, be well. So, there's a lot of kids who aren't able to get in the education in a way that is most receptive to them, because the remote stuff doesn't work, somehow, some way, so in a way we're lucky, that in our household we're able to operate the way we've been operating. It's tough, but you can just only hope for the best and know that at least none of us are we're at least we've gotten something out of the day. What was there was sort of a Buddha-esque quote, something about, if you didn't learn a lot today, I'm just paraphrasing, if you didn't learn a lot today, at least you learned a little. And if you didn't learn a little, at least, what was it? It started off something like rise, then it went on with something like, if you didn't learn a lot today, at least you learned a little. If you didn't learn a little, at least you weren't sick, But if you did get sick, at least you're not dead. Something along those lines. So there's a silver lining in everything, and there's a perspective that everyone can take to sort of get through challenging times. And I need a whole lot of it a lot of times. And, I'm now recently trying to actively seek out things that are motivating, things that are more inspiring, things that are more, driven type stuff, just to sort of allow my brain to just settle in that sort of space and not kind of fall in a negative mindset and be stuck there and get used to thinking things in a sort of a grim way. So I hope, if you find yourself there too, in that low spot, maybe you might want to try doing that as well, and we can kind of do it together. All right. Awesome. So let's see. I'm a little over a month of no booze. No booze whatsoever. No booze. And I feel great about it. And so that was towards, what was it? Maybe a little over, I'm going to say the 21st of November was when my first day of no booze. So that was the start. So basically a month. I'm a month. Yay, happy month anniversary, no booze. Da-dun. Thank you. I'm happy to have completed a month and look forward to many more. It was funny because my wife was baking something that needed bourbon, and she was in the kitchen. She's like, do you have any more bourbon? And I'm like, no. right? And she's like, I could use some bourbon. I'm working on this recipe. I'm like, okay. So anyways, left it as that. Because she was going to work off of a bourbon extract, a bourbon-flavored extract, to flavor something that she's working on. But, she had ordered it, but it hadn't come in yet. So she's like, I'll have to figure out something else out. I'll have to do a reduction of some sorts with some real bourbon. So anyways, I told her, no, I don't have any bourbon, and kind of went on and did other stuff. And I eventually, like I often do, I hit the road and went to a store to do buying for other things. And then I get a call, and she asked me to go, if there was a place or if it was possible to buy like a small bourbon, I'm like, I'd have to go to like that specialty store that does all of the alcohol, which I don't often go to, and they probably have them there, but I wondered if a little, travel size thing of booze was going to be enough for her. So anyways, I'm like, sure. So after I took care of the initial buying of things, I went over to the beverages and more, the Bevmo, and went in there, and I took a look around, and I settled on what I used to drink, and just picked up a bottle of Jim Beam. Ends up being more than she needed, but at least she has stuff that she could use down the road. But I was there, I was talking to the cashier, telling him about how my wife's going to use it for baking and things, and he happened to be a baker himself, a home baker, and we started talking about reductions and things of that nature, and bourbon and blah blah blah, and I told him it was funny because I had quit drinking a month ago. And it's like, in a way, is this just one of those tests to see if I'm going to be tempted to get a drink? And for the most part, I don't care. But I couldn't help but think about, did I have any sort of reaction to, standing at one of the aisles, seeing familiar bottles that I used to buy? Did I? And, I kind of think I'd had a little bit of a reaction. I want to say maybe I had a little bit of a, how do you say, a little mouthwater action going, but I quickly dismissed it and figured, well, that's horseshit, right? I need to address that, and the only way I know how to address it is to continue on my course of just continuing to stay away, and then hopefully it'll get to a point where if I'm staring at those bottles, I don't get that sort of reaction. It's kind of like, when I was in high school, I smoked cigarettes for about a year, and then I quit. Because, my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife now, kind of, she didn't dig the smell of the cigarettes and stuff. So, I wanted to make her happy, so I quit. And, and others out there who are listening, the one or two listeners who are out there who used to smoke know what I'm talking about. After you quit smoking, suddenly when you smell secondhand smoke, it's really awful. You're really appalled. I get it. I'll be in a parking lot with my family, trying to leave a vehicle or get back into a vehicle, and only I would pick up a whiff of somebody smoking cigarettes nearby or smoking weed nearby, and I'd be like, fuck, just gross, So I'm hoping at some point, I would look at a bottle, or I would get a whiff of the alcohol and just kind of feel like, ugh, no thanks, God, I can't be around it, right? It's funny, but yeah, a month, and And it's about 20 days of solid NSNG. So NSNG plus NB for no booze. That's my thing. Or as maybe that's what the group would call NSNG AF. Whatever. Feels good, and so since the start of December, pretty strict. Playing the strict game, feeling good, and I've been tracking, it's just progression of improved, my blood ketones have gone up, I'm in nutritional ketosis, feeling good about it. I'm more mindful about things like, yes, I'm NSNG, but do I want to be NSNG and keep myself in ketosis? I think about that stuff. I track it. I've been stepping on the scale about every day now just to see, considering where I am with ketosis and NSNG and, a little bit of exercise, where I end up. So, I'm down about 10 pounds, so it's been about, it's been a good progression of weight loss. And it's about, that's almost about as many months as we've been in this, pandemic. So something, I think that's kind of where the math, where things are at. But the bottom line is I'm making good progress. Happy about it. I actually jumped in and committed to spending the registration fee on a virtual event. I might have mentioned it before. I just haven't figured out how I'm going to execute it. It starts in January 1st and ends in the 31st, where I have to accumulate about, 267 miles. So that's a challenge that I need to figure out and accomplish for the new year. There you go.
Thanks for listening to Ruel's Running Podcast with Ruel. If you like what you just heard, share it with your friends and your enemies. Also, be sure to check out the site over at ruelsrunning.com. This has been another Coffee with Heavy Cream production. Join us next time for another silly show of Ruel's Running Podcast.